Welcome back to Real Crime Stories, the podcast where we bring you crime stories from around the world. The night was warm, the kind of summer evening when teenagers gathered with friends, focused only on the promise of what lay ahead. Lauren Astley had just finished her shift at the mall. As she drove away, her plans were simple, her future still wide open. But somewhere between routine and familiarity, everything changed. Lauren stopped at a house she had visited many times before, a place that should have felt safe. Inside those familiar walls, something unthinkable occurred. By morning, the quiet town of Wayland would awaken to a nightmare no one could have imagined. Lauren Astley was born on April 1, 1993 in Boston, Massachusetts, to Mary and Malcolm Astley. Both were teachers, deeply devoted to their only child. From the very beginning, Lauren was the center of their world. They raised her with strong values, honesty, compassion, and integrity, hoping she would grow into a kind and principled young woman. Even after Mary and Malcolm divorced in 2006 and shared custody, they remained united in their love and support for their daughter. By her teenage years, Lauren's life was filled with energy, purpose, and achievement. She was rarely still, throwing herself into nearly everything she touched. She sang in a local music group, played tennis and soccer, joined the church choir, and performed with the youth symphony orchestra. During the summers, she worked as a camp counselor and at a local arts center, where she landed the lead role in Annie. Though she stood just 4 feet 11 inches tall, Lauren's presence was unforgettable. Her powerful voice and vibrant charm made her a natural performer. Singing became her greatest passion, one she shared at countless school and community events. Becoming the lead singer of her high school's a cappella group was one of the happiest moments of her young life. Lauren's devotion extended far beyond the arts. She cared deeply about helping others and frequently gave her time to community service. At just 12 years old, she traveled to New Orleans to help victims of Hurricane Katrina, returning twice more to assist flood survivors. Her compassion and maturity were remarkable for someone so young, and her warmth touched not only classmates, teachers, and parents but also strangers. At Wayland High School, Lauren excelled both academically and socially. She participated in sports, concerts, competitions, and charitable events, earning admiration for her sincerity and openness. By her senior year, she had become something of a trendsetter, known for her energy, style, and ability to connect with people. It was during these years that Lauren began her first serious relationship with Nathaniel Fujita, a classmate she had known since childhood. Known as Nathan, he was tall, athletic, and the star of the school's football team. Popular and well-liked, he had many admirers, but he chose Lauren. Initially, their relationship was marked by laughter, games, and the excitement of young love. To many, they seemed like the perfect couple. Over time, however, cracks began to form. Their relationship grew unstable, marked by arguments, reconciliations, and repeated breakups. Nathan became increasingly jealous and possessive, frustrated by how much of Lauren's time and energy was devoted to others. By her senior year, Lauren was focused on her future. She applied to Elon University in North Carolina, while Nathan committed to Trinity College in Connecticut, where he planned to play football. For Lauren, this was a turning point, a chance to step into adulthood, explore new opportunities, and live more freely. Concerned by the tension in her relationship, Lauren's friends supported her decision to move on. Together, they even created a list of reasons she should end things. Nathan's temper, his jealousy, his occasional aggression, and his lack of respect, even toward his own mother. After much reflection, Lauren made her choice. On her birthday in April 2011, she ended the relationship. She later described that day as one of the best of her life. With college approaching, the timing felt right. A new chapter was beginning. For Nathaniel, however, the breakup was devastating. What felt like a fresh start for Lauren felt like a crushing loss for him. His dreams of football at Trinity seemed to lose their meaning. Once energetic and ambitious, Nathan withdrew into himself. In the months that followed, his life spiraled downward. He spent his days isolated on the couch, drinking heavily, cutting himself off from friends, and using marijuana daily as his depression deepened. Even after ending the relationship, Lauren still worried about Nathan. She hated seeing someone she had once cared for unravel so completely. At times, she asked her friends whether she should reach out, wondering if she could help him find his footing again. Each time, they urged her not to. Any contact, they warned, might give Nathan false hope that the relationship could be revived. By the summer of 2011, Lauren was trying to look forward. She had graduated from high school and wanted to enjoy her final months at home, surrounded by friends and family, before leaving for college. To celebrate, her friends organized a massive party beneath a large tent. Nearly 150 students and recent graduates showed up. Music blared, people danced, and for a while the night felt carefree. Nathaniel was there too, and he was already drunk when he approached Lauren, pleading for another chance. Lauren stood her ground. She told him it was over, that there was nothing left to discuss. They had gone through the same arguments too many times, and she was determined to move on. Nathan refused to accept it. Fueled by alcohol and jealousy, he followed her throughout the party, watching her closely, trying to control who she spoke to and whether she danced with anyone else. At one point, Lauren broke down in tears, telling a friend that Nathan simply wouldn't leave her alone. His anger escalated. In a sudden outburst, he slammed his fist into one of the tent poles, causing the entire structure to collapse onto the crowd. Though the tent was quickly lifted back into place, the damage was done. The mood had shifted. The celebration was over. Friends shouted at Nathan to leave, but the night had already been ruined. Later, Lauren confided in her mother, describing how Nathan refused to accept the breakup and couldn't stand to see her happy without him. For a short time afterward, things seemed to quiet down. Lauren focused on work, taking a summer job at a clothing store in the local mall. On July 3, 2011, she arrived for her morning shift at 10 a.m. Security cameras captured her entering the building earlier that morning, riding the escalator up. At 6:45 that evening, she was seen leaving work, talking on her phone. That image would be the last time anyone saw Lauren Astley alive. She had planned to meet friends for a walk that evening, but she never arrived. That wasn't like Lauren. She always let people know if her plans changed. Her father, Malcolm, grew increasingly concerned. He knew she was supposed to go home first, change her clothes, and then head out, but she never made it home. He didn't hesitate. Something was wrong. Malcolm called the police. Later that night, officers found Lauren's red Jeep parked at Wayland Town Beach. The windows were rolled down. Her bag and laptop were still inside, but Lauren was gone. When Malcolm learned where the vehicle had been found, he rushed to the beach. Torch in hand, he ran from the Jeep toward the water, scanning the shoreline as if sheer determination might bring her back. Friends soon joined him. They stayed through the night, waiting by the shore, clinging to the hope that Lauren might emerge from the darkness. None of them was ready to believe she had been harmed. As the search continued, police began questioning those closest to her. At first, no one could think of anyone who might want to hurt Lauren, but as investigators pressed further, they learned she had recently ended a long-term relationship. Even then, her friends insisted Nathaniel couldn't possibly be responsible. He was angry, yes. Heartbroken, certainly. But dangerous. That was hard to imagine. For investigators, however, jealousy and a painful breakup were immediate red flags. They knew all too well how often those emotions could turn deadly. Nathaniel Fujita quickly became a person of interest. That same evening, officers went to his home and spoke with both Nathan and his mother, Bate. Nathan claimed he had been home the entire time. His alibi was vague and unconvincing. He admitted he had seen Lauren briefly that day, saying she pulled up outside his house, never left her car, and that they exchanged a short, awkward conversation before she drove away. At first, his story sounded plausible, but police were aware of how deeply the breakup had affected him. Nathan had isolated himself, sinking into depression. He stopped training, quit football, and withdrew from friends. Bate, increasingly alarmed, had taken him to therapy. Desperate to help her son, she had even gone to the mall where Lauren worked, quietly hoping to encourage some kind of reconciliation. Before dawn the next morning, all hope vanished. A cyclist riding along a quiet stretch near the highway noticed something strange in the marshland. Floating in the water was the body of a young woman. She was just 5 miles from town. It was Lauren Astley. Her body was found about 30 feet from the road. When detectives examined her, the cause of death was immediately apparent. Her throat had been slashed. An elastic cord was tangled in her hair, evidence of further violence. She had been brutally attacked. Lauren was rushed to the medical examiner's office. Her father clung to a final, impossible hope, praying the body wouldn't be his daughter's. But he was soon asked to make the identification. Lauren Astley was just 18 years old. She had been vibrant, gifted, and standing at the threshold of a promising future. Now, Malcolm was forced to confront the unimaginable and deliver the devastating news to Mary, his former wife. The loss shattered their family and sent shockwaves through the community. Friends struggled to comprehend what had happened. Many had once admired Lauren and Nathan as a couple and insisted he would never harm the girl he had loved so deeply. But investigators saw a different picture beginning to emerge. Police learned just how drastically Nathan had changed since the breakup. The smiling football star, once cheered on by classmates and fans, had vanished. In his place was someone withdrawn, resentful, and increasingly consumed by bitterness. Nathan's mother, Bate, told officers she had tried to intervene. She admitted reaching out to Lauren herself, believing that a gesture of kindness might help lift her son's spirits. What she may not have realized was how far things had already deteriorated. And what she likely didn't know was that Lauren, out of compassion, had agreed to meet Nathan briefly on July 3rd. She had no intention of rekindling their relationship. She only wanted to help him move past his pain. Surveillance footage confirmed Lauren leaving the mall after her shift, phone in hand. Phone records showed she was speaking with Nathan. Moments later, she sent him a single text message. Sent at 7:05 p.m., it would be the last message she ever sent. Lauren planned to stay only a few minutes before heading home to change and meet her friends. She never made it back. Nathan's parents were not home that evening. The last confirmed place Lauren was seen alive was at Nathan's house. For investigators, it was the first solid lead. When police returned on July 4th to question Nathan again, he was gone. His parents claimed they didn't know where he was. With suspicion mounting, investigators moved quickly and obtained a search warrant for the Fujita home. Inside, they uncovered a series of deeply troubling clues. In addition to the elastic cord found tangled in Lauren's hair, officers discovered blood smeared across the garage floor, on a doorknob, and inside both the kitchen and bathroom sinks, areas where it appeared someone had attempted to wash it away. In the basement, they found a black sports bag containing a pair of trainers caked in mud. More evidence surfaced in the attic above Nathan's bedroom, another pair of shoes, along with blood-stained boots and clothing. The mud on the trainers immediately raised alarms. It appeared consistent with the marshy terrain where Lauren's body had been recovered. Laboratory testing soon confirmed investigators' suspicions. The mud matched the swamp where Lauren was found, and the blood on Nathan's clothing belonged to Lauren Astley. With that evidence in hand, police moved swiftly. Nathan Fujita was placed on the wanted list and located hours later at his cousin's home in a nearby town. Shortly after midnight on July 4th, 2011, the 18-year-old former football star was arrested and charged with the murder of his ex-girlfriend. When officers took him into custody, Nathan said nothing. During questioning, he offered no explanation, no defense, and showed no visible emotion. That unsettling detachment would persist for months. On August 23, 2011, Nathan appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. When asked to enter a plea, he whispered, "Not guilty," so quietly it was barely audible. Prosecutors immediately suspected the defense would pursue an insanity strategy. Nathan was formally charged with first-degree murder, along with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. As pretrial hearings continued, even more disturbing details about Lauren's final hours came to light. Investigators revealed that she had suffered more injuries than initially believed. After her body was discovered, one of Nathan's cousins contacted him. His response was chilling. He claimed the murder weapon would never be found. He also admitted to driving Lauren's red Jeep to the town beach parking lot, dismissing it by saying he needed a break and simply wanted to spend time with her. Prosecutors argued these statements showed deliberate intent. They requested that Nathan be held without bail, and the court agreed. As the case moved forward, troubling history resurfaced. In 2009, during one of the couple's many breakups, Lauren attended a dance with friends and shared a kiss with another young man. Nathan suddenly appeared, shoved the boy, and threatened to slit his throat if he ever went near Lauren again. At the time, the incident faded into the background, but when investigators examined the wounds on Lauren's body, Nathan's earlier threat took on a haunting significance. Prosecutors concluded that his rage toward anyone who came close to Lauren had been simmering for years. When Nathan's trial began on February 13, 2013, 18 months after Lauren's death, the defense centered its case on a single claim: Nathan was legally insane. His attorney openly admitted that Nathan had killed Lauren, arguing that the real questions were how and why, and insisting that he had not stalked her after graduation. The defense argued that Nathan had not stalked Lauren or harassed her with constant calls and messages. Instead, they portrayed a young man who had withdrawn completely, cutting himself off from friends, skipping football practices, and isolating himself from the world. Former teammates, teachers, and classmates testified to the dramatic change in his behavior in the months leading up to the crime. This narrative of withdrawal and mental collapse became the foundation of the defense's case. The prosecution, however, saw something very different. To them, the evidence did not point to a young man lost to illness, but to someone whose jealousy and rage had steadily escalated into lethal violence. Nathan's attorneys centered their defense on his mental health. They argued that he was suffering from a serious psychiatric disorder, far beyond the emotional pain of a teenage breakup. His mother, Bate, had persuaded him to see a psychiatrist, who diagnosed him with severe clinical depression. According to the defense, this condition was worsened by repeated head injuries sustained during years of high school football. They claimed the breakup with Lauren triggered a psychological crisis that spiraled out of control. Although medication and therapy were recommended, Nathan refused both. On the evening of July 3, 2011, when Lauren went to his home, the defense argued that Nathan experienced a manic episode, one so severe that he was incapable of understanding or controlling his actions. According to this account, what was supposed to be a brief conversation in the garage turned violent when Nathan grabbed an elastic cord and wrapped it around Lauren's neck. The attack escalated quickly, strangulation followed by a fatal slash to her throat. The defense insisted Nathan acted without awareness, detached from reality, and that the killing was the result of insanity, not intent. The prosecution told a starkly different story. They argued that Nathan deliberately lured Lauren to his home because he could not accept losing her. Phone records showed he had called her multiple times throughout the day, including as she was leaving work. Prosecutors said he pressured her into stopping by, fully aware that his parents would not be home. Once inside, they contended the attack was calculated, not spontaneous. The autopsy revealed more than strangulation and a fatal throat wound. Lauren had defensive injuries, clear evidence that she fought back. Prosecutors walked the jury through what they said happened next. After killing her, Nathan removed his blood-soaked boots, changed into tennis shoes, and drove Lauren's red Jeep to Wayland Town Beach. There, he abandoned the vehicle and threw the keys into a storm drain. He then returned home on foot, placed Lauren's body into his own car, and drove to a nearby swamp. Believing the thick marsh would conceal her remains, he waded more than 30 feet into the wetlands before leaving her there. Later that night, witnesses reported seeing Nathan driving naked, windows down, blasting music. Back at home, he cleaned the garage, washed away blood, and hid his shoes and clothing. Prosecutors argued these actions demonstrated planning, awareness, and an attempt to evade detection, clear signs of guilt. The defense countered with testimony from a forensic psychiatrist, who stated that Nathan was incapable of understanding that his actions were wrong. Severe depression, football-related head trauma, and substance abuse, they claimed, had distorted his perception of reality. This, they argued, was not the mind of someone capable of calculated murder, but of someone lost in a psychotic state. The trial was agonizing. The medical examiner testified that Lauren remained alive for several minutes after the attack, bleeding to death following the strangulation and throat wound. In the courtroom, her mother sat in silence, devastated. On March 7, 2013, after a full day of deliberation, the jury returned its verdict: guilty on all counts. Nathaniel Fujita was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole, the mandatory sentence for first-degree murder in Massachusetts. In the aftermath, Malcolm and Mary Astley refused to let their daughter's memory fade. They founded the Lauren Astley Memorial Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to the causes Lauren cared about most: art, community service, and education about healthy relationships. Through their grief, they sought to warn others about the dangers of breakup violence, hoping no family would ever endure the pain they had suffered. But even years later, the case was not entirely closed. In January 2024, the Massachusetts Supreme Court overturned a law requiring anyone under the age of 20 at the time of their crime to serve life without parole. For the Astleys, the decision reopened old wounds. They now fear that the man who murdered their only child at 18 could one day be released. For them, justice means only one thing: that Nathan Fujita should remain behind bars for life. Thank you for watching Real Crime Stories. Share your thoughts on the story, like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next episode, stay safe.